Morning everybody, welcome to Solo ReacTalk. This morning I'm going to be reacting to two videos pertaining to Trench Crusade. The first one is a request from Anthrax Crab 2222. It's called World War Armageddon Trench Crusade Lore Breakdown, made on the Kateri YouTube channel. Hopefully I'm pronouncing the YouTube channel name correctly. And then the second request is from Alpha Shocker. It's called Trench Crusades, the Principality of New Antioch, Lore and History, made on the Scanner Barkley YouTube channel. Yes. So the first one, Trench Crusade, Lore Breakdown, World War Armageddon, and then the second video will be Trench Crusade, the Principality of New Antioch, Lore and History. Yes. Remember guys, if you want to check out my previous reaction to other Trench Crusade content created by YouTubers, I'm going to create a playlist card for it now, since it's now more than one video that I have reacted to for Trench Crusade. So the playlist card will be right up at the top right here for my previous reactions to other Trench Crusade content. And yes, if you want to check out the original video as well as Kateri's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. Why is that plane flying so low? Okay, sorry guys, I'm distracted by the plane that's just flying very low. But yes, I'm digressing. Let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
The bells of Jerusalem are ringing, as the First Crusade is at an end. Christian forces have achieved a significant military victory in recapturing Jerusalem and the Holy Land from Muslim control. As celebrations of jubilant victory are celebrated by the Crusaders, they are yet to realize that a much darker, more bloodied conflict awaits them in the immediate future. This is because a group of Templars have discovered an ancient evil, and this ancient evil, along with their own lust for power, is about to bring about a cataclysmic conflict which will define all of creation.
These Templars that found this evil under the city of Jerusalem, you know, why does it only happen now? Why does it only happen when the Christian forces have taken over Jerusalem? Why did it not happen before that, you know, when the city was held by Muslim forces? What did the Muslim forces know about the city of Jerusalem that they did not tell the new conquerors of the city? You know, those who survived through the assault, you would think that they would tell these Christian forces that, hey, there is a demonic presence under the city of Jerusalem. You know, stay away, stay clear of it, or try to seal it away, try to keep it away from the populace because it's extremely dangerous. You know, one would think that something so powerful, something so dangerous should supersede any sort of internal squabble between the Abrahamic religions, you know. But it seems to me that no one has told these Christian forces who have taken over Jerusalem, or maybe no one knew about the demonic forces or demonic energy or evil that's under the city of Jerusalem. However, it still begs the question, why is this only happening now? Why did it not happen before?
Welcome to the world of Trench Crusade. Trench Crusade is a skirmish-scale tabletop miniatures game created by Mike Francina, an illustrator who worked on games such as Path of Exile, Diablo 4, and System Shock 3, as well as Thomas Perinen, a Finnish game designer. The world they imagined was one where the battle between heaven and hell has found its way into the year 1914. 800 years after the war began following the First Crusades, when a heretical band of Templars defied the Almighty, put aside their vows, and opened the gates of hell upon the world.
I think we need a story behind these Knight Templars. I think we need a story on how this all began with these knights. How is it that they came about the information that there is a demonic force or energy or buildings that are under the city of Jerusalem? How did they come about that information? You know, or is it the demonic forces underground that are calling these knights to come down to its vicinity? And if that is the case, why does it only target the Christian knights? Why did it not target the Muslim fighters or knights that controlled the city before? That's why I'm asking, like, you know, something so important like this, you would expect, or you would think that though the Muslim forces that were conquered in the city, that they would explain to their new overlords that, hey, there's some sort of force down there, don't go down there, destroy the entrance to that place, or make sure that no one goes down there. Or if they did not know about it, why is it that the demonic forces are only becoming active now when the Christian forces have taken over the city? Yeah, hopefully you guys can understand my thought process on this. I'm just trying to understand, why is this happening now? Who are these Knight Templars? You know, what makes them so important that they would be the first ones to find out about this place? Yeah.
The result is a grimdark universe of such in-depth and exceptional lore that I felt it was worth taking a deeper dive into this world for both myself and curious viewers such as yourself. A quick note on what this video
Wait, did that tank have candles on it? Okay.
is and is not. This video is an organized gathering of the canonical lore from the official lore primer and playset rules. It is not an introduction to the actual tabletop game, but only the lore it is centered around. This video is also not fanfiction. It is a reorganization and paraphrasing of official source material. Any speculative lore will be made clear that it is indeed speculative.
Okay.
Otherwise, it is canonical and directly pulled from the source material. This video is also not intended to be the definitive guide to everything Trench Crusade, as it is being made before the game's official Kickstarter has even begun, and therefore in short time it will contain information which is limited in scope compared to the full scale of the universe.
I thought the Kickstarter had already concluded, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a success, right?
I do hope, however, this video can be a timeless starting point for anybody looking to get into the lore of this world. This content was also created for a very mature audience, so viewer discretion is highly advised. With all of that out of the way, let's dive in to the world of Trench Crusade. The First Crusade, launched in 1096 and concluding in 1099, was a pivotal military campaign initiated by the Catholic Church to reclaim Jerusalem and the Holy Land from Muslim control. Catalyzed by Pope Urban II's call to arms at the Council of Clermont in 1095, the crusade attracted a diverse army of knights, soldiers, and peasants from across Europe, driven by
Yeah, it was a messy crusade, that's for sure.
Religious zeal and promises of spiritual rewards. The culmination of the First Crusade was the Siege of Jerusalem in 1099. After a protracted and brutal assault, the Crusaders breached the city walls and took control. The establishment of the Crusader states, including the Kingdom of Jerusalem, marked the successful conclusion of the First Crusade and initiated a period of Latin Christian rule in the Holy Land. The story of the Trench Crusade universe begins following the conquest of Jerusalem. Following the conquest of the Holy City, the Knights Templar discovered a demonic artifact beneath some of the ancient temples, which corrupted the Templars who discovered it. And these Templars began communing with the demons who spoke through the artifact and performing unholy religious rites.
You see what I mean? This type of demonic artifact, you would expect it to be kept under lock and key, or the ruins that are also, found around this demonic artifact. You would expect that it would be kept under lock and key, and you would expect that the Islamic forces that controlled the city would also know about this, and that they would also tell the new overlords over the city that, hey, there is a demonic force there. Don't interfere with it. Just keep it sealed. Nobody should ever touch it, because it would bring death and destruction to us all. You'd expect there to be some sort of discussion like that. Whoever survived through the assault on Jerusalem. And, if the Islamic forces who control Jerusalem did not know about the existence of this demonic artifact and these ruined cities under Jerusalem, you would ask yourself, like, why is this only happening now with these Templars? Like I stated before, why is it only happening now with the Templars when Jerusalem was controlled by other forces long before the Templars even arrived at that location?
This event is known as the First Heresy. The
First Heresy. Okay.
Or also references an event known as the Act of Ultimate Heresy, which opens the gates of hell upon the world.
The Act of Ultimate Heresy. This is kind of reminding me of Dragon Age. I don't know if you guys have played the game Dragon Age, and you've heard of the mages of the Tevinter Imperium that were practicing blood magic, and they sacrificed a lot of elves and their blood. They used that blood to enter into the Fade. The Fade is like, it's a different plane of existence, if I can say that. It's where spirits realm, and they try to open a gate into the Fade and enter into the palace of their god, their maker, if I can say that. And it cursed them, it corrupted them, and they became the first blight, that infected the rest of the world. So I kind of see some sort of similarity here with these Templar Knights, heading down into the depths of Jerusalem, finding this demonic artifact, opening up the gates of hell, and committing the first ultimate act, the act of ultimate heresy. Yeah, it's kind of similar there.
Although there is no reference as to the difference between the First Heresy and the Act of Ultimate Heresy. Either way, the gate of hell is opened and Jerusalem is destroyed as a result. 2 years later, in the year of our Lord 11...
Destroyed in what way? Like obliterated, like the entire city is just gone? Or did the demonic forces coming out from the gate attack the civilians on the surface, and they conquered the city?
1101, the year of 3 battles occurs. The heretics, men and demons who fight for the forces of hell, spend this time conquering most of the Levant, a region in the eastern Mediterranean which includes the modern-day countries of Cyprus.
Whoa, that is a large area. That's large. That's a large territory that they've conquered already. They're even going down into Egypt, Mesopotamia. The little city-states that are there probably are also being attacked. Anatolia up in the north.
Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. Following this, the city of Antioch is fortified and turns into the central point of resistance against the armies of hell for the church and mankind.
Antioch has become the bulwark against the heretics now.
8 years following the centralization of resistance forces in Antioch, a group of men known as the 17 Martyrs traveled into the earthly domains of hell to convert the heretics back to the faith.
They went to do what? They went to do what? To convert the heretics back to the faith? How are you going to do that? How are 17 of you going to do that? I'm sorry, but that's a stupid plan. I don't know in what way do you think the 17 of you are going to change the minds of heretics. This is for life. Once you're part of that side, Once you're part of the evil side, there is no coming back. It's life. Imagine asking a demon to switch sides. Imagine asking a demon's thrall to change sides. That's not possible.
But they were instead captured and are now kept within hot white brazen bulls, now and unto eternity, or their rescue.
I'm afraid there is no rescue. The amount of territory that these heretics have already conquered, it will be very difficult for anyone to try and push them back and recover these 17 fools. Yeah, you guys are gonna suffer.
The 13th century would see the church suffer through the wars of Draclavianism, which would cause internal conflict and schism within the church, allowing for the heretics to expand their territory. These events would lead to the death of millions over the course of the century.
Millions? Over the course of the century, millions? Wow, okay. Okay, we're hearing about the Christian world and what's going on there. But what about the other Abrahamic religions, you know? Those who belong to the Islamic faith, those who belong to the Judaism faith, you know, they are also probably suffering the same type of onslaught by the demons like the Christians, right? So do we get to hear about what's going on with them? Especially like when we saw the map, we saw Egypt, we saw the Arabian Peninsula, we saw Mesopotamia, you know. What about those regions? Are they also being affected?
Although the exact nature of the wars of Triclavianism is yet to be revealed at the time of this video's making, Triclavianism is a word for the belief that Jesus was crucified using 3 nails, which goes against the more commonly held Catholic belief that he was crucified using 4 nails. This means it's entirely possible that the church was having a theological dispute, which led to war and schism, but this
Over how many nails were in Jesus? Are you guys crazy? Are you guys crazy? Are you really gonna fight over that? When the forces of hell are literally at your doorstep, you're fighting over how many nails were on were you know, put into Jesus. Are you serious? Oh my God.
is speculative. 40 years following the events of the wars of Triclavianism, Beelzebub, a major demon present throughout the scriptures, unleashes a plague known as
What's his name? Beelzebub. Beelzebub. Okay.
the Black Grail upon the world, turning tens of millions of people into metastasized vessels. The Black Grail's timeline is the same as the timeline for the Black Death or the bubonic plague in our timeline. The major difference in this timeline is that the Black Grail can reanimate its victims into deceased soldiers for the forces of hell.
Interesting. So it's like Nurgle then, from Warhammer 40k. Yeah, oh, interesting.
Leading to an event named the Corpse Wars. The resolution of this conflict would not come until the year 1429, where Saint Joan of Arc would drive the Black Grail out from mainland Europe.
Wow, Joan of Arc, okay, okay.
More than a century later, in the year of our Lord 1545, the great resistant city of Antioch would be destroyed entirely by an infernal weapon of unknown origin and nature.
A weapon based on what, fire? Okay, wow. The entire city gone. That's terrible.
This would lead to the construction of New Antioch, the ongoing focal point of the church and the faithful.
And New Antioch, where is it situated? Is it in the same location or around, somewhere around that same location? I wonder about that. Okay. Old city gone. New city built. Okay. And that is the Principality of New Antioch. Aha. Okay. Because that's the next movie I'm reacting to after this. The Trench Crusades, the Principality of New Antioch, Law and History, made on the Scanner and Barclay YouTube channel. That's what I'm going to be reacting to next. So this is the city that, what's his name? Kateri. is talking about. Okay.
In the year of our Lord 1666, named the Year of Six Woes, the newly crafted heretic naval fleet captured Gibraltar, becoming the central base of operations for the heretic army against.
Heretic naval fleet has captured Gibraltar. So are you telling me that the Mediterranean Sea has already been conquered by the heretic forces? That they're able to sail all the way across, passing Italy, and heading over to the, Spain. And they're at Gibraltar. And they've taken over Gibraltar. Wow.
Against all of Europe. This would lead to England constructing what would become known as the Fortress of the White Cliffs, although there is no details on what this fortress actually is. The next 2 centuries would see significant grounds gained by heretic forces, who successfully destroyed the fleet of England while simultaneously constructing and deploying the world's first submarines.
What? The heretics have submarines? My gosh. Well, 2 centuries have passed by now, but wow, that's shocking. That is shocking.
Which would cause global famine through their destruction of merchant navies.
Global famine. Okay, wait. I'm a bit confused here. Because Europe currently is dealing with the heretic forces, right? Well, let me say the Christian Europe. It's dealing with the heretic forces. When would they have the time to be exploring the rest of the world and creating their colonies, or commencing their colonization of the world, when they are busy fighting against the heretic forces? Because in this type of situation, you would expect that all of Europe is focusing on making sure that New Antioch is heavily defended, and it still continues to become the bulwark against the heretic forces, while the rest of the world, when you think about North America, South America, the southern regions of the continent of Africa, and Asia, the rest of East Asia, South Asia, those regions of the world, they can't be affected, really, because Europe is no longer playing that part in history where they would commence their exploration of the rest of the world and colonizing other regions of the world. You would expect them to be focusing on trying to defend themselves against the threat of the heretic forces. If anything, the heretic forces would be the ones expanding themselves across the world, because they already have a navy that has captured Gibraltar, meaning the gates into the Mediterranean Sea belongs to them, and that means the entire Mediterranean Sea probably is also under their control. Therefore, they have access to the Atlantic. They can go further down south on the continent of Africa. They could go all the way to the west, to the Americas. And the fact that they've also started going on the Arabian Peninsula and Mesopotamia, they could be heading down further east to the Indian subcontinent. I would expect that the heretic forces would be the ones having that advantage. But it seems to me that the Christian European nations somehow, in this entire debacle, or in this entire conflict, they're the ones who have their colonies established across the world. Interesting. All right.
These successes would lead to heretic forces launching a conquest against mainland Europe following the storming of the city of Rijeka. This would all culminate in the Year of Broken Trinity, numbered in the year of our Lord 1894. During this year, the Death Commandos of Hell would simultaneously assassinate the Supreme Pontiff, the High Prophetess Aliyah, and the Holy Roman Emperor, throwing the Church and the faithful into turmoil and chaos.
The death commandos from hell.
The church would gain ground back over the next 2 decades, however, by successfully launching the church space program in 1899, constructing the moving...
What? The space program. Wow.
Fortress of Britannia in 1907, and fighting heretics to a stalemate at the Battle of Cordoba in 1910, preventing the heretics from gaining access to the heartland of Hispania. This would all lead into the present setting, the year of our Lord, 1914.
Man, they had a space program before 1914, in fact. That's amazing.
Trench Crusade takes place in a World War I trench warfare setting. The following map, courtesy...
Let's see the map. Let's see what's going on. Okay. A map of Trench Crusades. Wait, let me just take off this. Alright, I'll be back. Alright. Holy Roman Empire. Okay. Gibraltar is conquered by the heretic forces. Alright. Is there a way for me just to zoom in a bit more to see the names? No? There's no way. Oh no. Yeah, I can only zoom in and zoom out, and this is the limit. Okay. Alright, I can't really see, but there's New Antioch. Okay, it's kind of at the same position where the old city of Antioch is. Alright. Okay, let us continue.
Of Reddit user Deditrans Potashi shows the general geographical area that the lore and Crusade encompasses. Technology-wise, the power of both heaven and hell allow each faction to have unique sets of ancient and modern weaponry. Thanks to the devoted followers of Saint Eligius, the patron saint of metalworkers, the Holy See's weaponsmiths and armorers were able to create steel alloys imbued with divine radiance, metals more durable than standard steel. These craftsmen have produced massive and durable suits of armor out of this metal. Meanwhile, the heretic legions have harnessed metals from the infernal forges of Tartarus, which surpass ordinary steel in strength but come at a dire price. Wielding such weapons or donning these cursed armors inflicts searing damage on both body and soul, resulting in perpetually festering wounds that never heal.
Wow. Okay, so on the Christian side, they've created some sort of metallic alloy that is blessed by God. And then on the demonic side, they have metallic alloy that is cursed by hell. Alright, interesting.
Because of these breakthroughs, melee combat is quite common in the Trench Crusade. However, rifles, machine guns, grenades, and artillery are all commonplace as well. There are also religious items, such as the helmets of the observers of the Synod of Strategic Prophecy, which allow them to hear the voice of God, which imbues great power at great cost.
Hear the voice of God, like literally. Wow. So, wait, do they have conversations with God, or does God just talk to them? And they just have to obey and, adhere to anything that God is saying to them. Interesting. Very interesting.
This is only one example of how the faction's powers and abilities create unique and esoteric lore for units, and thus creating a unique brand of warfare.
The Principality of New Antioch.
Standing for over 300 years since the destruction of Antioch in 1545, the sword and the shield of Europa and Africa, the Principality of New Antioch, is the first...
The sword and shield of Europa and Africa. I don't know how is it going to be the sword and shield of Africa, since it's all the way up near Turkey. Antioch, the city, the Principality of Antioch. How are they protecting Africa exactly? That's why I think I need a new map, in terms of the locations of these places. Especially like with the Principality of New Antioch. And how is it that they'll be able to defend Africa, especially the northern regions of Africa that are now probably under the control of the heretic forces? So yeah, I'm not entirely sure how does it defend Africa. I understand Europe, because from Antioch or New Antioch comes Turkey or Turkey, and the rest of Western Europe, or Eastern Europe and then Western Europe. Yes.
Line of defense against the forces of hell, and the only thing standing between those forces and the conquest of the entirety of the Levant. Following the destruction of Antioch, the Sword Congress of Vienna resolved to reconstruct and strengthen the city in the year of our Lord 1559, establishing a yearly tithe to be sent to New Antioch by all loyal nations. However, this tribute is seldom monetary. Instead, it comprises a continuous flow of provisions, tools, ammunition, weaponry, machinery, and skilled labor from across Europa, the Mediterranean, and the African territories.
So, Antioch doesn't have any industry of its own. New Antioch, I should say, doesn't have any industry of its own to produce any sort of weaponries, any sort of infrastructure that is needed for its defense. It has to depend on other nations across the Christian world, to give it the resources to survive. Okay, interesting. So if there is potentially another schism within the Christian world, Antioch is in trouble, because it won't have the type of support that it used to have, in its responsibility to become the bulwark for the Christian world against the heretic forces. So its life literally depends on the loyalty of the Christian world to its existence.
The city functions under the governance of the Office of the Propagation of Virtue. Although they are lenient towards the soldiers of the city, they otherwise ruthlessly prosecute any infraction of church doctrine. The weekly executions of heretics has become a grand, highly attended public event as a result of this zeal. Within the city's techno-laboratories, the church diligently works to forge superhuman disciples, known as communicants, by
Communicants. So what are they, like these special super soldiers of New Antioch?
using the cloned flesh and blood of Christ to endow them.
The cloned flesh and blood of Christ? How? How did they obtain the cloned flesh and blood of Christ? Jesus died a long time ago, way before the events of before the events of 1099, after the Christians conquered Jerusalem. He died way before that. So how were they able to obtain the blood and flesh, the blood of Christ, for them to clone it and use it in their time period, 1914? I think we need more information there. This so-called blood of Christ, or blood and flesh of Christ, I'm not sure about that. I don't think it is what they say it is. Yeah. We need more information there.
With extraordinary powers, holding the title of Duke of New Antioch, and therefore emerging as the nominal supreme commander of all of the faithful's armed forces, is an unparalleled mark of honor and prestige, with the current holder of the title being Duke Constantine. Although he is the supreme commander of the faithful, most international troops fight under the command of their own leaders, but the army of the Principality is still the single largest fighting force against the forces of hell. The Observers are an order of warrior monks who spend almost the entirety of their lives within the Temple of the Word, where, in absolute solitude, they sharpen their minds to become the ultimate weapons in the hand of God. Only when the need arises are they summoned by the Synod of Strategic Prophecy. These observers wear helmets that are called Oculus helmets, which allow them to attune to the voice of God. This allows them, to a limited degree, the ability to perceive past, present, and future simultaneously. However,
Wow, that's amazing. Past, present, and future simultaneously. I mean, you'd go mad if you were to experience something like that. But maybe that's why, they've trained themselves to understand that and, to contain that type of information and use it. Wow, but that's crazy.
the unending reverberation of the divine echo in their ears makes sleep unattainable, compelling them to rely on powerful sedatives and mind-altering drugs to endure the grueling demand of their battlefield duties. The observers rigorously refine their recitation of the words of God, endowing them with the authority to command both allies and enemies alike. Their specially crafted helmets enhance the holy word's power, compelling any creature to obey their commands, if only briefly. Even the smallest lapse in their focus can cause them to lose the voice of God that guides them, leaving them as vulnerable as any ordinary soldier.
Yeah, the observers look cool. You just need to shoot that head piece and they'll lose focus and concentration and they'll just be like any other human being on the field. So yeah, they look cool. They have a very interesting abilities to them, but they can also be very vulnerable. Yeah. You just need to know where to hit them.
As the war against Hell raged on, the faithful encountered a nigh impossible problem to solve. Due to the supernatural power of the gate to Hell, the vast majority of individuals could not approach it, meaning that the faithful could not take the fight against Hell to Hell itself.
What I find interesting is that God has spoken to his people, those who belong to the Christian faith in Europe. He has spoken to them through the observers, and whoever else also hears the word of God. However, you don't see God giving his children his most powerful forces, and those are the angels. Where are the angels? Here the demonic forces are coming here with demons. They're coming here with all manners of, powerful entities to invade Earth. However, the Christian God, or should I say the Abrahamic God, is not offering support in terms of opening the doors of heaven. And here descends the angels that defend heaven to come and fight against the forces of evil. Where are the angels? Or maybe they are here and probably Kateri. Yeah, Kateri is going to talk about them. Or maybe that's law that hasn't been, put into pen just yet. Yeah, probably I'm just jumping a bit too forward. I'll just have to wait.
In order to combat this, the church began a secret program, intended to create warriors of such physical prowess and internal holiness that they could undertake missions within the very depths of hell. This program was named the Paladin Program, creating members of the Mentalist Order which are imbued with the blood from the Metachrist program. Although we aren't entirely sure what the Metachrist is, communicants are described as having consumed the cloned flesh and blood of Jesus Christ.
Here we go again with this consuming the flesh and blood of Jesus Christ. Okay. So what do they call it? Metachrist, right? Wow. Okay.
And therefore, it's safe to assume that a Metachrist is a clone of Jesus. Paladins dwell in hidden cells, within a secretive wing of Castle Sant'Angelo, until the Council of Saints summons them for battle. When their time arrives, they leave their isolation, proceed to the arming chamber, and kneel on the mosaic of the militant Christ the Lion. There, they are equipped and armored by blinded and gelded serfs to prevent any impure gaze or desire. After being briefed on their mission by one of the cardinal generals, they receive the last rites in advance, as no task is more perilous than war within Gehenna itself. Initially, there were 12 paladins, but only 9 survive today. 2 have perished in battle, and rumors suggest that one may have turned coat.
these paladins are very rare. If there was only 12 of them, right? Yeah. Wow. Very few. You would need like an army of these guys to, to push back the forces of hell. You need an army, not 12. 12 is not enough.
Though the Church fiercely refutes such claims under penalty of death. Despite relentless attempts, the Holy Mentalist Order has failed to create a single new paladin in 3 centuries.
Why is that?
Each of the 9 circles of hell presents a unique and hazardous environment, ranging from toxic fumes and intense heat to frigid temperatures far below freezing, necessitating specialized armor for each circle. When a paladin ventures into the gates of hell, they face the grim reality of succeeding alone or perishing, since no one will be coming in to assist them. Because of these risks, paladins are deployed on direct orders from the Council of Saints and are used with extreme caution. Lieutenants.
Okay, yeah, the paladins are very powerful soldiers, or super soldiers, if I can say that. They are very powerful, but I'm afraid there's just too few of them. There's just too few of them to actually make some sort of large impact on the nine circles of hell. I just don't think 12, or how many are left now, 9 paladins are really going to be of any effect in terms of pushing back the forces of hell. No, it's just not enough. Maybe there can be like a reconnaissance unit, to take out maybe like key important targets. I can understand that, like a demon lord of some sort, but no.
Lead small squads or platoons within New Antioch's forces. Lieutenants are often the scions of noble families, or have achieved their rank through exceptional skills on the battlefield. Beyond their leadership duties, lieutenants are also tasked with procuring new weapons, equipment, and supplies for their units, which often involve scavenging from the battlefields of no man's land or raiding local settlements. A sacred warrior
raiding local settlements, yeah.
Who tends to the spiritual needs of the soldiers in the unit, the cleric recites uplifting battle prayers and can perform miracles like healing or striking down foes. The cleric typically carries a portable shrine on his back, symbolizing his devotion to the company's patron, whether it be one of their homeland saints, a powerful archangel, or the Lord himself. These followers of the Church practice ritual blindness as an act of devotion to God, relying solely on their faith to combat the Church's enemies. During the siege of St. Lux,
they kind of sound like the observers, where the observers, get their commands from God. Probably also the sniper priests get their commands from God. And the fact that they're blind and they only rely on their faith, it's definitely just like the observers. Yeah.
There were tales of a sniper priest who, despite his blindness, managed to eliminate a target from a distance of 3 miles.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Standard troops of New Antioch, these brave men and women have undergone basic training and pledge allegiance to the Duke of New Antioch. While they may not possess the advanced combat skills of elite forces, their sheer numbers and diverse array of weaponry compensate for their lack of specialized training. Assault troops who excel in breaching enemy defenses, specializing in swift, aggressive attacks and close quarters combat. They are adept at integrating various combat techniques and using fire team strategies effectively. Combat engineers focus on demolishing bunkers, locating minefields, and constructing battlefield positions. They are equipped with close-range weapons and reinforced steel armor. Despite the high casualty rate within their ranks, they view it as a privilege to serve and sacrifice for New Antioch and the Church. These heavily armored soldiers are tasked with handling the company's heavy weaponry. Chosen from the elite ranks, they undergo substantial chemical enhancements to boost their combat capabilities.
You could say that they are the Astartes of this universe. Okay. Wait.
Church. These heavily
infantry. Okay. Yeah, they're kind of like the Astartes.
Armored soldiers are tasked with handling the company's heavy weaponry. Chosen from the elite ranks, they undergo substantial chemical enhancements to boost their combat capabilities. The Sisters of St. Cosmas are an elite medical unit with advanced training, specializing in providing first aid and performing surgeries directly on the front lines of the Great War. The Sisters pledge a modern version of the Hippocratic Oath, which requires them to assist all injured soldiers of the faith, regardless of the severity of their condition. Equipped with a combat surgical knife that also functions as a misericordia, a tool historically used by battlefield medics or surgeons to quickly and humanely end the suffering of those who are beyond saving. They are skilled in both saving lives and ending them, for those found wounded in no man's land. They carry medical kits stocked with a wide range of battlefield medications, effective at alleviating even the most severe pain and helping soldiers return to the battlefield.
War bands, okay.
The Papal States forces, which answer to the Supreme Pontiff of Rome rather than the Duke of New Antioch, are occasionally sent to the front lines for specialized missions, such as tracking down and neutralizing high-profile heretic leaders or retrieving spiritually significant artifacts. They are commanded by warrior monks and priests chosen personally by the Pope. What we know in our world as Ireland, Ire is a bastion of the Church and a staunch adversary of the forces of hell due to relentless and destructive raids by the
Ire Rangers.
heretic navy. The Emerald Isle has suffered from famine, been devastated by the Black Grail, and faced a full-scale invasion targeting the renowned House of Manuscripts, which houses many sacred texts. After enduring a century of fierce battles against the invaders, the warriors of Ire have become experts in guerrilla warfare. The elite warrior hunters of Ire are often viewed as godless troublemakers, but their skills as skirmishers make them valuable recruits for war bands that journey to New Antioch to combat the enemy. These warriors display grisly trophies, such as the skulls of their fallen foes, in a manner reminiscent of their pagan forebears, much to the disdain of the Church. When the poet King O'Connor
Much to the disdain of the Church, when the world that you live in is also just as disturbing. Like, I really don't see what's the problem. I don't see the problem of you displaying the heads of your enemies when you guys also do some very nasty, gnarly things to your own people. So, honestly, the Church, I'm not sure where you're going with this. Let them express their victories against these heretics. They're fighting against evil. You must show evil that you do not fear them, but they should fear you. So yeah, the Ire Rangers, keep doing what you're doing. Maybe one day the heretic forces are really going to be terrified of you guys, you know, as they see the heads of their commanders or their people or even demon heads being displayed as trophies. Yeah.
Honor sends his renowned rangers to support the Principality of New Antioch in lieu of paying the annual tithe to Vienna. The Duke eagerly accepts these formidable fighters in their place. When there is a requirement to neutralize a formidable enemy stronghold or launch an assault on a particularly formidable defensive line of trenches, the Duke of Antioch frequently relies on the renowned shock troopers units from the Free State of Prussia. These elite forces are frequently tasked with missions from the princes of the Church or the High Command of New Antioch. Admission to this elite unit is determined entirely by merit. Applicants must be exceptional athletes, under the age of 25, unmarried, and have demonstrated remarkable aggression on the battlefield. Shock troopers have the highest casualty rate of all Prussian soldiers. These new recruits swear the following oath: to each his own, to me, death, originating
Interesting. To each his own, to me, death.
from the Scottish Highlands. These individuals come to New Antioch seeking glory, absolution for their sins, valuable loot, and direct combat with devil worshippers. The heretic submarine fleet persistently attacks the kingdom's shores, abducting their young to be sacrificed at the dark altars of the archdevils. Feeling a profound animosity towards the forces of hell, their British neighbor's fleet and its renowned mobile fortresses are focused on defending their own coasts, and this leads to friction and resentment from their northern neighbors.
I guess the political and military and social complications between England and Scotland are still, well and alive in this universe of Trench Crusade. Interesting. Very interesting.
It is a stark truth that a third of humanity has bowed down to the idols of hell.
A third of humanity. Wow.
The primary earthly military force of Satan, the heretic legions, is composed of individuals drawn from these condemned souls. Those who have witnessed the war-torn lands inhabited by the heretic legion describe the grand idols of the golden calf and the fervent people who bow before them, offering themselves as sacrifices in violent rituals. In their cities, towering structures of iron and black stone stretch down into deep pits. Inside, sacrificial altars are set up where captives endure prolonged suffering over days and weeks with harsh tools made from dark, infernal materials. Majestic cathedrals dedicated to the princes of hell are supported by massive volcanic arches, while the condemned are displayed on inverted crosses.
Yeah, these numbers, in terms of the population size of the heretic empire, if I can say that, in terms of population size, in terms of when they first began invading, Earth, and millions of people died. That's what we were told. I'm starting to wonder, what is the current population of Earth in 1914? In the current state of Trench Crusade. What is the current population of Earth? And when they say 1/3 of the world's population is, under the authority of the heretic empire, if I can call it that. I'm not sure what I can call them. What is this grouping of demonic forces, on Earth? But I think it's the heretic empire. That's a lot of people. 1/3, that is a lot of people. I'm assuming here, I'm guessing here, but that is a lot of people. I think that's more information that we need when it comes to Trench Crusade. There's a lot of information that we need in terms of this world and the world building, the lore behind everything, but definitely this is one of them. In terms of population size, how many human beings live on Earth, if there could be like a census like that can be produced, and how many people are really, under the control of the heretic empire, how many people are in the jurisdiction or the control of the Christian world, if I can say that. And what about the other Abrahamic religions? Like I've stated before, what about those who belong to the Islamic faith, those who belong to the Judaism faith, and what about other religions across the world? Or do we just sweep them aside and we focus mainly on Christian Europe versus the forces of hell? Yeah, I think there's still more that needs to be developed in terms of the law in this universe. And yeah, these are just questions that are just bombarding my mind, guys. I'm just talking it out. Nobody's wrong, nobody's right. This is still a very fresh start on a new IP, if I can say that. So yeah, let's continue.
Becoming part of the army of damnation is a formidable challenge. To secure a spot among the heretic legions, one must undertake a journey to the gates of hell. From even a great distance, the intense fiery heat radiating from this immense structure scorches both body and soul. Those who reach the vicinity of Hell's Maw are deemed worthy and are admitted into the legions. They pledge unyielding oaths that bind them to the darkness forever, their bodies marked with the devil's sigil, signifying their eternal allegiance. Some individuals push beyond the gate. Their flesh ignites in the process, never to heal, but those with the darkest souls can enter the very inferno itself.
In terms of the paladins, how are they able to enter into Hell's Maw when this gate is in the very heartlands of this heretic empire? How are they able to get from Antioch, head all the way down to the former city of Jerusalem, to enter into the gates of hell? Don't they have to go through like a lot of heretic forces? And even before they even get to the city where this gate is being held, they would have to be fighting against a lot of forces. And that would tire them down, that would make them weaker before they even reach the gate.
These anointed are held in the highest regard within the legions, having traversed the cursed path of the shores of the lake of eternal flame, where the damned suffer endlessly. The anointed return forever marked by the abyssal flames. Their scorched and blackened flesh remains permanently damaged, but in return they are allowed to don heavy Gehenna armor and gain the strength to wield weapons that would be impossible for an average man to wield.
My gosh.
Although the majority of the heretic legions consist of mortal humans, Hell frequently dispatches its own repugnant offspring to bolster the ranks of these human soldiers. In this accursed battlefield, mortals and abominations advance together, united by the torment of their damnation. Making up the majority of the heretic army, heretic troopers have seen the gates of hell and survived, damning them for all eternity. Heavily armored and protected assault troopers, the anointed heavy infantry have scorched and blistered skin from their ritual journeys to hell and back. Warwolf assault beasts charge through the miles of barbed wire.
My God. Where's the head? Is that the head that... okay, wow.
To clear paths for the heretic infantry. Their designed head is built to slice through the obstacles effortlessly. Artillery witches roam the battlefields, launching munitions created.
Artillery witches? Whoa. Wait, are they the ones who destroyed the old city of Antioch? Because we were told Antioch was destroyed in fire. Maybe it was the artillery witches. Maybe enough of them bombarded the city until it turned to rubble.
In the death factories of Hell's third circle. They are entirely silent, and their faces have never been seen, with speculation that they may not even be alive. They can summon an endless supply of infernal bombs from a self-conjured portal to Hell. From a...
You see? So it's possible that they may be the ones who destroyed the city. If they can just bring these bombs into existence from hell, an unlimited supply of such destructive potential, it can be brought upon the city of Antioch and destroyed. So, yeah, probably it were the artillery witches that destroyed Antioch.
Young age, a chosen few heretic youths are sent beyond the gates of hell to be trained as death commandos. Residing in the seventh circle of the Inferno, they receive instructions in the lethal arts of assassination from the souls of history's most notorious killers whom are trapped in hell. Additionally, they are taught martial skills by the elite guards of Archdevil Baelith, and their Tartarus claws are drenched in lethal poison from the waters of the river Styx. At the conclusion of their training, the tongues of the death commandos are ceremonially removed, that they may never share the tortures they've endured. Instead of speaking, they use a sophisticated system of cryptic hand signals to communicate with one another.
Oh, sign language.
Among the most notorious death commandos are Cain, the man who committed the first murder by killing his brother Abel; Barabbas, the murderer whom a crowd chose to free over Jesus Christ before the Lord's crucifixion; and Haman, the man who attempted to have all of the Jews in the Persian Empire killed before he was stopped by Queen Esther. It is unknown if the three men in the lore are exactly the same as their biblical namesakes. These three men, in the year of our Lord 1894, executed the Supreme Pontiff, the High Prophetess Aliyah, and the Holy Roman Emperor in a coordinated strike. This caused chaos within the church forces and enabled the legions to swiftly advance across the Levant and Europe. Due to the YouTube terms of service, I won't be going over the choristers. If you'd like to know more, you may look them up in the lore primer in the comments. Once you read up on them, you'll understand why I didn't include them in this video.
Okay.
The leaders of the heretic army's warbands, the heretic priest is one who wields various dark magics, invoking terrifying demons and creatures through goetic spells. Typically, they are bound to a demon lord in hell. The profane gospels they chant instill such fear in church forces that they can cause physical damage to the faithful.
Okay, they also have warbands.
The heretic fleet functions as a semi-autonomous force, led by its high captain and various admirals. The heretics maintain their own marine infantry, which frequently operates in small groups to penetrate deep into enemy territory and carry out hit-and-run missions. They are constantly searching for captives, loot, intelligence, supplies, rare artifacts, and opportunities to showcase their cruelty and savagery. One of the most fascinating units in the Trench Crusade universe. Trench ghosts are the results of heretic troopers dying on sacred ground or in the presence of an untainted holy relic, causing them to become ensnared between realms. Belonging to neither heaven or hell, these trench ghosts become undead, attacking both the faithful and heretics alike while following orders that no living being can hear.
So they're kind of stuck in purgatory then.
Their faces are obscured by gas masks that serve no purpose for them anymore, as their bodies and minds are condemned to endure the horrors of war forever. Legends speak of numerous trench ghost warbands that haunt no man's land, but the most renowned are known as the Ghosts of Tannenberg.
Trench pilgrims.
As the faithful wage war against the forces of hell, some individuals find themselves touched by heaven itself, gifted visions and revelations. Sisters of the Holy Orders, marked by stigmata, wield both sword and cross as guided by angels, as others seeking to atone for their sins aim to drag as many followers of the devil as possible with them in.
Why is she barely wearing any sort of armor? I mean, you're going to be fighting against these demons, you're going to be fighting against heretics. You're going to need armor to protect your body so that you can fight for as long as possible. Because when you're just dressed like that, you're a target. You're a target. Anyways.
Into the afterlife. Thus, trench pilgrim processions have formed containing the deranged and the wounded, the divinely touched and the guilt-ridden. These disorganized groups follow the prophets of the Lord to the front lines.
Yeah, also this guy, he's just wearing cloth on his head and cloth on his body. Probably he thinks God is going to protect him. Okay.
Fighting with unmatched fervor. Most of the pilgrims are individuals with little military training, but once they don the iron capirote of a trench pilgrim, they can confront even the most fearsome demons. Death does not always end their mission either. Occasionally, the seventh Metachrist may judge a fallen pilgrim as worthy and resurrect them as martyr penitents, beings which exist between heaven and earth and are capable of fighting without feeling pain.
A zombie.
Each procession maintains its own unique characteristics. The Path of Pious Revenge, dedicated to Saint Olga, employs flamethrowers, incendiary grenades, and burning ammunition.
The opposite of the, what are they called again? Artillery witches.
Pilgrims of the Iron Path, who follow Saint Rita of Cassia, arm themselves with hammers, mauls, maces, and cudgels, and drive nails into their own heads to honor their saint.
And you're not dead? Okay, alright. You must be a zombie then. Yeah.
The Theban Legion of Rome, devoted to Saint Maurice, engages in combat with swords and other blades. A formidable leader, war prophets are inspired by visions of Armageddon. Their sermons and prophecies motivate the pilgrims to move from one battlefield to another, aiming to counter the forces of Satan and achieve martyrdom through combat. Assigned with instilling the fear of God among the troops, castigators are officers of orthodoxy, whom ensure that the soldiers remain righteous while disciplining those who stray. They are shielded by their steadfast faith and the saints they venerate. Communicants are individuals who have ingested the flesh and blood of a Metachrist, empowering themselves with the divine essence, causing them to increase in size and for their wounds to begin healing miraculously.
It seems like this Metachrist material is like a genetic boost for anyone that consumes it or anyone that is grafted in with this Metachrist. You know, it's the answer to fighting against maybe like high demons or high lord demons, very powerful opponents. Essentially, you're gonna need people who are imbued with the blood and flesh of Christ.
Even though they are blinded, their vision is remarkably enhanced, with blessed crosses nailed through their eyes to signify this blessing. On the battlefield, they serve as line breakers and protectors for prophets and castigators. A sacred warrior of the trenches, a trench pilgrim believes it is his spiritual duty to journey to holy battlefields and combat the heretic legions. Either captured foes of the true faith or volunteer sinners, ecclesiastic prisoners are chained individuals who advance through the Great War with the fervent hope that their sacrificial charge will somehow purify their corrupted souls. They charge in with an explosive device to bring forth an explosive martyrdom, although some manage to survive the blast and continue.
How? How do you survive an explosion right next to your... okay, alright.
Continue the battle. The stigmatic nuns are devoted holy sisters who bear the stigmata, wounds identical to those of the third Metachrist whom they revere.
Stigmatic nuns.
Stigmatas are physical wounds, scars, and pain that manifest in places mirroring the crucifixion wounds of Jesus Christ, with the most well-documented stigmatic of our world being that of Saint Padre Pio. The stigmatic nuns excel in close combat, and their devotion to suffering turns their wounds into a source of power beyond that of ordinary humans. They venture across no man's land without fear, praying for wounds that honor the Redeemer, which then transform them into instruments of divine vengeance.
I mean, it's okay that, they are close quarter combat specialists. But if a heretic force soldier has a gun, they have a gun. You can be the best swordsman on planet Earth. If they shoot you with that gun, you are dead on the spot. That's why I'm saying, at least wear some body armor of some sort. Because going into battle looking like that, you're a target. You are a target. I mean, why protect your head then? Why wear a helmet?
A massive suit of armor, powered by diesel and faith, shrine anchorites are towering metal giants, standing about...
Wow. Anchorites.
12 to 15 feet tall, serving as formidable war altars, nearly impervious to damage. Inside, the anchorite is lined with spikes and barbed hooks, keeping the monk pilot in a continual state of suffering, which
Alright.
they embrace to mirror the pain of their Lord. The outside is adorned with
The pain of their Lord? You mean Jesus? But he was crucified, so why aren't you guys crucified? But okay.
religious icons, sacred relics, and prayer scrolls, all in line with the customs of the pilgrim sect to which the anchorite is dedicated. Hundreds of these battle machines were created under Saint Methodius' supervision, but the knowledge of their creation has been lost since the monastery was ruined by a death commando attack.
Oh damn, so how many of these shrine anchorites are left?
Upon the passing of the monk or the nun whom pilots the anchorite, whether by battle or by age, the remains are carefully collected and preserved in reliquaries attached to the anchorite, turning each of these war machines into a tribute to its enduring history of combat against the forces of hell. Each anchorite wields an adamantine Catherine wheel and a bonebreaker mace to unleash divine wrath upon sinners, heretics, and apostates.
A wheel? And not a shield. A wheel. Okay.
As an act of devotion and penance, it is a widespread tradition for trench pilgrims or stigmatic nuns to be broken by the wheel and spend their final battle mounted upon it. This
Wow. I mean, you could have chosen another way to have yourself being killed on the battlefield, but if you want to break yourself on the wheel, I guess that just shows your devotion to your God, I guess.
act symbolizes their readiness to endure suffering for their sins and is believed to provide spiritual protection to the anchorite. Although the church disapproves of this practice, pilgrims eagerly gather around their anchorites before any battle, hoping...
For the first time, I'm with the church's side on this matter. If you want to absolve yourself of your sins, if you want to be cleansed of your wrongdoings, then fight on the battlefield. Charge against the enemy with explosives, with your weapons, and fight until you die. Not putting yourself on a wheel and thinking that you can become a battering ram for the shrine anchorite. No, man. That's a waste. I want you to be fighting on the battlefield. Not to be displayed as some sort of, holy good luck charm. No, man. It's a waste. Go fight and kill.
To earn the privilege of dying on the wheel. Trench pilgrims from the procession of the Sacred Affliction are renowned for their ability in close quarters combat. Their armor is adorned with religious icons, and their shields display images of the saints, which are resistant to machine gun fire. They carry millstones on their backs, which they use to bind around the neck of sinners before submerging them in the mud and blood of no man's land. They also do not cover their faces, believing that faith alone is sufficient to face the terrors of hell. The Cavalcade of the 10th Plague, named after the final plague in the Book of Exodus which brought about the death of Egypt's firstborn sons, traditionally sacrifices lambs before engaging in battle, using its blood to anoint themselves as a means of protecting against divine wrath. Devoutly adhering to the traditional interpretation of the holy texts, they reject the new doctrines introduced by the Metachrist. Additionally, they capture communicants from other processions and compel them to fight for them as penance for being born out of sin.
Wow. The cult of the Black Grail. Okay. Wasn't the Black Grail created by Beelzebub, a high lord demon, or a demon lord, I should say? Okay. Let me write it down here. So you could say it's the cult of the undead, essentially. Okay.
Beelzebub, the Lord of Flies, is distinct from other Hell Lords who primarily operate through their mortal agents. When he rises to dominance in the fierce conflicts among the Archfiends, he unleashes his most lethal curse, the Black Grail. The Black Grail harbors a relentless enmity towards all living things, infecting nearly all biological material and causing it to erupt with tumors and boils. It annihilates the body, while leaving the mind intact to endure the agony.
Oh gosh.
Despite intense efforts by the church's scientist priests and the Sultanate's alchemists to find a cure for this vile disease, they have so far been unsuccessful. The only known remedy is to incinerate the infected settlements with specially designed flamethrower tanks that use consecrated oil as fuel. If this method is not employed, infected bodies of humans, horses, dogs, insects, and various animals rise again, driven by a demonic force to carry out Beelzebub's will, forming warbands to seek out and infect other life forms, and collect valuable items and gruesome trophies, which they present at the feet of Beelzebub's idols. Leading these warbands are the Knights of the Order of the Fly, degenerate individuals that willingly accept the Black Grail and whose devotion is deemed adequate by Beelzebub. In return, they receive weapons, armor, and gear tainted by the Archfiend's influence, in exchange for sacrifices made at the altars of Beelzebub.
That helmet makes it look like a mosquito.
The Black Grail's malevolent influence emanates from Beelzebub.
Oh my gosh. That is a mosquito. Oh. Heralds of... Oh, that's how you properly spell the name. I can't pronounce it. Beelzebub. Okay.
The Lord of Flies. It propagates through the insects he spawned in the 7th layer of Hell, unleashing a deluge of his vile essence through demonic pests, virulent infections, tainted insects, plagues, and other corruptions that desecrate both body and soul.
It's disturbing.
Among those unfortunate enough to fall under the Black Grail's sway, some are tragically transformed into grotesque winged insects composed of bloated flesh through a harrowing fusion with hellflies. This agonizing transformation renders them heralds of Beelzebub, serving as winged scouts for the Order of the Fly. Heralds stand as the vanguards for the Black Grail, their resonant wing buzz instilling profound terror in their adversaries.
And are they like big, or are they small, or oh gosh.
Eroding their concentration and resolve. They wield ancient weapons teeming with demonic worms that disseminate disease. Each tainted bullet possesses a sinister sentience, seeking out any fissure in the enemy's armor in order to penetrate the nervous system and infect its target. There are some individuals whom, upon the arrival of the Black Grail, called out to Beelzebub, hoping that the Lord of Flies will spare them if they offer worship and servitude. These individuals' pleas are ignored. However, a handful of mortals, extremely rare, truly embrace Beelzebub's vision of a world ending in a rotting, parasite-infested mass, perpetually plagued by the Black Grail's curse. Among these twisted souls, the most depraved are selected to join the ranks of the unholy Order of the Fly. Those souls are known as Plague Knights. Plague Knights rise through the Order of the Fly by transforming as many living beings as they can, which increases their rank and earns them more favor from Beelzebub. Of the most renowned Plague Knights, there exists a dozen, a number which exists in mockery of the Church's paladins.
Yeah.
And they are honored as the Fly's top champions. They live in Ekron, Beelzebub's city, a horrifying place that even heretic lords stay away from. Most individuals who are infected with the Black Grail are turned into Grail thralls.
What are those things on their back?
Joining the vast army of hollow, infected beings who are doomed to serve the Black Grail's nobles forever, suffering from numerous supernatural afflictions. A high-ranking official, the Lord of Tumors spreads
Oh my gosh.
decay and corruption to both allies and enemies. They enter a trance-like state to communicate with the Lord of Flies and are able to channel the power of the seventh circle of hell. Only the most resilient human followers can endure the blessings of the Black Grail. Those who succeed are elevated to the Corpse Guard, serving as elite bodyguards to the Black Grail's nobility. Should they prove their worth through exceptional service, they may eventually be granted entry into the ranks of the infernal nobility. Decayed canine carcasses infested with maggots and flies, the Hounds of the Black Grail carry out the faction's unholy mission. Their purpose is to roam no man's land, spreading disease and plague in the name of their Dark Master. An amalgam is a huge mass composed of dozens of infected fallen warriors, insects, mammals, and other living creatures that fell victim to the Black Grail's torment.
So they all just combined into one super organism.
These monstrous forms move across the battlefield like immense, bloated heaps of disease.
I'm sure the, what are they called again? The shrines, the shrine and anchorites, yes, the shrine anchorites. They probably fight against the amalgam. Yeah. The iron Sultanate. Okay, so now I think we're pivoting to those who belong to the Islamic religion, right? Yeah. Okay. And I have been asking about this. What about those who belong to the other denominations of the Abrahamic religions? Because we're focusing so much on Christianity now, it seems we're going into Islam, and I don't know about Judaism, I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, at least we get to see the other side as well of the Abrahamic religion.
Following the opening of the gates of hell, a summons was issued to those who held the Islamic faith, leading to a mass migration across Europa, Asia, and Africa over the following decades. Millions died along the way and at sea, as heretics attacked them like locusts consuming a field, devouring them and constructing dreadful monuments from their remains, preventing proper burial as prescribed in their holy texts. Once the survivors arrived, the great gates of Al-Quran were shut, and the great sultanate of the invincible iron wall of the two horns that pierced the sky was established. Despite the ongoing conflict to defend the walls of the Sultanate, which leads to new martyrs each day and night, the Sultanate thrives within the walls.
If this is the Sultanate, oh, okay, unofficial imagining, okay. But yeah, this is beautiful.
From mosques of white marble and gold, the muezzins summon the faithful to pray for the success of the Sultan's army as it fights to safeguard their territory. Although there is an agreement between the church and the Sultanate to fight together against the armies of hell, in the Sultanate, there is a profound resentment towards the infidels, who unleashed Gog and Magog world.
Well, you know, I think with all these Abrahamic religions, they all need to band together. They all need to join forces to fight against this enemy, because it belongs, well, it was stationed within their holy city of Jerusalem. You know, so it is all of their responsibility. Yes, it was a Knight Templars who unleashed all of this upon the world, but it will require all three or other religions also belonging to the Abrahamic religions to unite together to fight against this common enemy and to close those gates once and for all. It will need them all to work together. So bickering amongst each other about whose fault it is, there's no point in doing that anymore.
Military expeditions across the Great Iron Wall into No Man's Land are led by field officers known as Yuzbashi, chosen solely on merit rather than family background or wealth, often promoted from the Janissary Corps. Enhanced by Jabreen alchemical arts and mystic conditioning, Yuzbashi face enemies fearlessly, as their mental hardening makes them indifferent to pain and ruthless in battle.
They look like they come from Mongolia, you know, with this type of plate armor that they have and the hat and the fact that they have what is it, like an eagle? Yeah. And look at that sword.
They are equipped with exceptional armor made of meteoric iron, silver-gilded carbines with alchemical ammunition, and kill-edged swords inscribed with golden calligraphy. The most formidable carry hand cannons that also serve as halberds and may wear cloaks of their greatest kills, such as chimeras, to protect against Shaitan's power. Success earns Yuzbashi the Sultan's favor, bringing honor, Damascus steel weaponry, and access to Jabreen alchemical wonders. Hunting is also esteemed among their ranks, and artificial birds of prey and automaton hounds are used as effective weapons of war alongside the Yuzbashi. Alchemists are mystical practitioners of the Great Sultanate of the Iron Wall.
Okay.
Trained in the House of Wisdom, admission is open to anyone with necessary will and intellect, regardless of gender. Candidates face numerous trials on their way to mastery. Only after 7 years of rigorous study under the scrutiny of the High Alchemagi can an aspiring alchemist attempt the 3 trials required to achieve full membership in the Order. The first trial involves crafting a suit of the alchemist's armor adorned with the Seals of Solomon, allowing the alchemist to guard against even the grand mechanisms of hell. The second trial is to craft a Taquin servant, a homunculus imbued with artificial life and intelligence. This being will serve as a living tool for the alchemist. Though it resembles a small human, it can alter its body into a near-liquid state, allowing it to navigate alchemical chambers, even in extreme temperatures and dense poisonous fumes. Many aspirants fail at this stage, resulting in a malformed creature emerging from its golden celestial sphere, filled with animosity towards its creator. This monstrous failure will burrow into the alchemist's body, destroying their would-be master. The final test involves opening the third eye, which grants cosmic insight and the ability to perceive the fundamental elements of creation. Those who fail this test undergo horrific transformations.
So basically, this is a high-risk, high-reward type of, qualification, if I can say that.
Are doomed to spend the remainder of their lives in torment, constantly screaming about the terrifying, unseen horrors now revealed to them. Out of compassion, alchemists who fail in this manner are often put down, though rumors persist of secret groups keeping these unfortunate beings alive for mysterious reasons. An alchemist who has successfully completed all 3 trials is a master of the arcane arts, able to control elements, craft mechanical devices, create artificial life, and develop weapons of immense destructive power.
These alchemists are far more powerful than anything that all the other factions have. In terms of the heretic priests, no match for these types of people. The what were they called again? The artillery witches. They are no match against these alchemists. These alchemists are just far superior. Yeah. I'm looking for another unit that could probably be compared to an alchemist. Maybe the observers as well. Yeah. Like, nobody else can compare to the type of power these Jabrarian alchemists have. Definitely. Very powerful.
Janissaries are the elite warriors of the Sultanate. They are made up of the young captured during raids beyond the wall and undergo stringent military training and indoctrination into elite warriors. Through spiritual and alchemical methods, their minds are subtly controlled and conditioned to ensure absolute and unyielding loyalty to the Sultan alone. Their physical traits are enhanced by powerful potions made by using the mystical Jabrian arts. Their elaborate armor is made from a special metal formula derived by the Sultanate's alchemists. They are safeguarded by strong talismans created by the blind thaumaturgists from the school of the meteoric omen. Equipped with Jezzail rifles, hand mortars, Yatagan blades, and a deep-seated devotion, the Janissaries are truly formidable adversaries. Deep beneath the golden gardens of Damascus,
what is that?
One can encounter the great alchemists of the Sultanate. Through the Jabrian technique known as Takwin, alchemists can generate artificial life, crafting a variety of bizarre and marvelous creatures and automatons. It is in this place and through these means that the Sultanate crafts the dreaded Lions of Jabir. Named after the fierce hunters of the plains, the Lions of Jabir can take on various forms. Each one is a unique creation, crafted according to the skills and artistry of the Jabrian scientist who designed it. The arcane techniques used by the alchemists come from the studying of the forbidden books of Solomon, and many alchemists lose their lives when their experiments go awry. Designing the Lions of Jabir is a challenging task with numerous variables to manage, leading to frequent deformities. The most tragic cases are those lions who experience profound existential anguish as they come to understand the terrifying nature of their unnatural creation. The Lions of Jabir are formidable adversaries and serve as the frontline force of the Sultanate's army. The Sultan himself is protected by a personal retinue of 77 colossal Lions of Jabir. Their speed and ferocity are nearly unparalleled, and some possess unusual abilities due to their alchemical origins. Many are adorned with armor fused into their flesh, crafted with alchemical metals, inscribed with mysterious symbols, and elaborately decorated by the alchemists to conceal any flaws in their design. Ghost Wolves, the Secret Knives, and the Sultan's Wrath. These are the many names of the Sultanate Assassins, a legendary order of mystic warriors feared for their esoteric skills and ruthlessness. Though the Ismaili sect of assassins is considered heretical by many within the Iron Wall, a pact with the Sultan ensures they often serve in the Sultanate's warbands. These assassins possess the ability to manipulate space and time through sacred rituals and
space and time. So what, they can teleport?
Potent hallucinogens, allowing them to appear in multiple places at once, strike with incredible speed, and retreat in a flash. Their enhancements through powerful chemicals and potions makes them significantly taller, faster, and stronger than ordinary men. They carry out their duties in service to the Sultan, executing ritualistic holy murders of his enemies.
You know what I've just realized? I don't hear that this faction, those that belong to the Iron Sultanate, I don't hear them having communication with God. Like those who belong to the New Antioch, the New Antioch Defense Forces, if I can call them that. When you think about all the other units that operate in New Antioch, when you think about the observers, how they communicate with God, or that they have the Meta Christ, this blood and flesh that is cloned from Jesus Christ, and it gives them all of these abilities, and some of them are even able to communicate with God with their enhancements. But I don't hear anything of that sort when it comes to the Iron Sultanate. Their development seems to only involve their own ingenuity and not the involvement of God. because it's all the same God, if I'm not mistaken, right? With the Abrahamic religions, it's all the same God. It's just that, you know, they all follow God in a different way, or they worship God in a different way. If I'm not mistaken. If I am, guys, correct me if I'm wrong about that. But I do find that interesting, that God is talking to those who belong to the Christian faith, and then those who belong to the Islamic faith under the Iron Sultanate. I don't hear that God is giving them advice, or God is talking to specific type of units on the battlefield, like how it is done in New Antioch.
While skilled with various weapons, they prefer poison blades crafted in Alamut. These blades are coated with supreme poison, known as the Milk of Manat or the Cup of Death, which guarantees death upon contact with unprotected skin. Young assassins are raised in deep underground chambers on a bitter, toxin-rich diet that increases their poison tolerance. Their blood is used to create poisonous iron, which is forged into deadly blades with enchantments. The Sultanate's vast lands allow for the raising of large armies from its many provinces, with 1 household in 20 required to equip a soldier, known as an Azeb. An Azeb, meaning unmarried, serve as light infantry on land and sea and defend the Great Iron Wall against heretic attacks. For elite missions beyond the wall, volunteers are called upon, drawn by the promise of fame and valuable loot. Azebs use varied weaponry due to their lack of access to the elite arms and armor reserved for higher-ranking troops. They commonly carry jazales with distinctive curved stocks, which are handmade and can be loaded with different types of ammunition, including rough bullets, iron nails, or alchemical silvers from the Great Iron Wall. Other weapons include curved daggers, scimitars, pistols, and sappers' tools. Azebs are seen as expendable, with their deaths considered a path to paradise. Despite the high casualty rate and the harsh conditions in the trenches, new recruits eagerly enlist for the chance to serve the Sultan, fight the enemy, and return home with glory and riches. The Sultan's sappers are tasked with operating the cannons of the Iron Wall. Due to the tendency of their powerful artillery to overheat, they are often marked by severe burns across their bodies. Many have perished while manning their guns, succumbing to the intense heat and smoke. Protected by the Iron Wall, the Sultanate has long excelled in artillery. However, the heavy siege guns on the wall are impractical for smaller expeditionary forces. In the year 821 of the Hijra, Sultan Bayezid III commissioned a new form of living field artillery. The Jabreen scientists of the Royal Artillery House, after centuries of experimentation, created the Brazen Bull, or Boha, a powerful creature of war. The Brazen Bull, equipped with heavy artillery like flame cannons and volley guns, and blessed with holy blades, is designed to be an unstoppable force of nature.
So this is their version of a shrine anchorite, yeah, or a amalgam, yes, okay.
The Brazen Bull is covered in intricately adorned bronze armor with thrice-hardened scales, inscribed with protective talismans and blessings. On the battlefield, beyond the Iron Wall, it is a fearsome and imposing presence. Acting as a steadfast, unyielding shield and tower, it leads the Sultanate's forces. The Iron Sultanate and the Assassin Fortress of Alamut have a pact where the Sultan receives the services of the highly skilled assassins in exchange for Alamut's autonomy. While the assassins are known for their work with the Sultanate's forces, they also conduct secretive missions in no man's land. Led by Rashid al-Din Sinan, the ruler of Alamut, these missions are assigned through dreams rather than direct communication. The secretive warbands, called Fidei, undertake these covert operations with a master assassin and 2 experienced members, accompanied by trainee acolytes. The purpose of these missions remains unknown. Alamut also houses a renegade sect of Ismaili dervishes, warrior monks who join these missions as a form of piety and payment for their shelter. And there we have it. The entirety of the lore from the Trench Crusade universe, from the original lore primer and playtest rules. I hope you guys found this as interesting as I did, and that this...
I did find it interesting, I really did. I still need more information to fully get a grasp of this world, because I do have a lot of questions. I do have a lot of questions, and hopefully one day they can be answered, definitely. But I did enjoy it.
This video was helpful for those of you interested in either the game or this universe. If you have any suggestions for other lore dives you'd like to see, please leave a comment so that I can consider it for a future video. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm looking forward to the next video with all of you.
Alright guys, that is it with World War Armageddon Trench Crusade lore breakdown made on the Kateri YouTube channel, requested by AnthraxCrab2222. Yeah, we've just had a breakdown of the current state of Trench Crusade and the different factions in the Trench Crusade universe, if I can say that. And there are still a lot of questions that I need answered. Like I've stated before, that the information given to us, yes, it is comprehensive in terms of the different factions, but like I've stated before, I want to know about these Knight Templars. How many of them were they? Who are they exactly? How is it that they were able to hear or find out or stumble upon these demonic artifacts? I want to know how this entire story began, in terms of these knights, these Knight Templars that were in Jerusalem after the victory of the First Crusade. I need to know more about them. I need to know more about the state of the world at large, because yes, we do see the heretic, the heretic legion and their empire, growing from the location of where Jerusalem was, right? And the fact that they've expanded further within the Arabian Peninsula, they're going down into Africa, they're going up, or trying to go up into the north, into Europe, into Eastern Europe, and also going further east. And I still need more information about how far have they gone, what regions or locations or part of the continents do they control, because we're also told that 1/3 of the world's population is under their control. I need to see in a map, where is that exactly? And also in terms of the Christian world and the Islamic world, where do they factor in all of that? How far is their influence across Europe, across Africa, across Asia? We haven't even discussed about North and South America and all the other, regions within Southeast Asia and in the Pacific. The world is big, so we still haven't truly had a full grasping about, the entire theater of this conflict, this holy conflict between good and evil on planet Earth. And I need to know more about that. I need to have that type of concrete information so that I can further understand the state of everything in the world, because this is like a dark, very apocalyptic future that is supposedly infecting the entire world. So I need to know the state of the world. I need to know the political maps of the world. I need to see where the lines are drawn and how conflicts are still continuing, and the different types of war bands or organizations that are existing in this world. Where do they hail from? How do they intersect with each other? How do they fight amongst each other? I still need to know more about that. In terms of New Antioch, being the new bulwark against the heretic legions, I think I'm going to know more information about them in the next video that I react to, which is Trench Crusade, the Principality of New Antioch, Lore and History, made on the Scanner Barkley YouTube channel. I'm probably going to get more information from that video. But yeah, I just need to understand in terms of New Antioch's economic or military position, in terms of its survival? Is it truly purely existing because of the tithe being fed to it by the Christian world, or do they have their own industries? Do they have other population centers around New Antioch that feed into New Antioch's economy and military production? You know, because New Antioch can't just be alone. It can't just sit alone and be the only thing defending Eastern Europe and the rest of the Christian world from the threat of the heretic legions. It can't just stand alone. There has to be other defenses or other forms of support systems that keep it alive, not just the tithe coming from the rest of Europe and Africa. Yeah. Also, when it comes to the different units that we were given here, in terms of those that are under the New Antioch principality, or those who are in the heretic legion, or the trench pilgrims, or the what was it called? Order of the Fly. Yes, Order of the Fly, and the Iron Sultanates. Yes, these are all very unique and different types of units, and there is a certain variety of how they all began and what type of powers do they have and what type of advantages do they have and disadvantages they have, and that's good. The fact that there's such diversity, and it's not all just the same thing over and over and over again. You can actually see that there is a distinguishing feature of many of these different units, and that's a good thing. But like I stated before, when it comes to the presence of God, it seems that those that belong to the Christian faith, they can hear God, and those who belong to the Islamic faith, they don't hear their God, or it's the same God, so they don't hear the voice of God. I find that quite interesting. I do find that quite interesting, that the Iron Sultanate and their people, their ingenuity and their persistence to ever evolve and perfect their arts of conflict or war, have developed a society that is able to create entities out of nothing. When you think about the Jabarian alchemists, the fact that they can create things out of nothing, they can control the elements, they can do things that you would consider to be witchcraft when it comes to the Christian world. And I just find that so interesting, that God is speaking to them, but is not speaking to those who belong to the Muslim Islamic faith. Why is that exactly? Why is that? Or maybe there are going to be other units that do speak to God, or God speaks to them. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Since this world is still new and they're still trying to develop it, maybe over time more of this type of information will be further explained to the rest of us. Like, why is it that they are able to hear God while these guys are not able to hear God? Yeah. And like I stated before as well in the video, where are the angels? Where are God's warriors? Why aren't they on earth as well, fighting against the demonic forces? That is something that also needs to be answered. Because, it can't just be humanity facing against these supernatural creatures. Why would the Abrahamic God abandon us? Well, it's not really abandoning humanity. He is still talking to humanity. But it's still not enough. We need those angels. We need him to unlock the gates of heaven and let the angels descend and help humanity fight against, these demons. So, I'm also expecting some sort of information about that maybe one of these days. I don't know. As Crusade continues to advance and develop its lore and history and all other contributing information, hopefully we'll also get to know about angels and other supernatural beings that belong in heaven that are also descending to help in the conflict against the heretic forces. Yeah. And also, what was quite a surprise for me is that the British Navy has been, completely destroyed. Well, to a point where they can only defend the British Isles. That's as far as they can get. They can't really expand and defend other seas or oceans against the heretic forces. That was also quite a surprise to hear that the heretic forces and their naval fleets are so powerful. They have submarines and they are destroying, or should I say, they have destroyed what would have considered to be one of the most powerful navies on planet Earth, even during that time. What is it, 1914? Yeah. So yeah, that was quite a surprise to hear that the British Navy has been destroyed. What is also a surprise is hearing that there's a space organization created by the church. That's crazy. That is crazy. That is crazy. So that means there's also conflict in space, probably. That is also more lore and information that we need to delve into as Trench Crusade further develops and grows in terms of its narrative and lore centered around it. So yeah, that is also quite interesting to hear about. And yeah, the state of technology in this universe, it's not linear. There is points of stagnation, there is point of progress, there is point of regress, and it is quite interesting how it's all mixed together in terms of this entire universe, and how the supernatural world also exerts its existence and its ingenuity in this universe. So yeah, it's crazy. Trench Crusade truly is a crazy universe. Grimdark, definitely. Some of the things we're hearing here, in terms of the people who belong to the Trench Pilgrims, what they do to each other to be closer to their god. It's crazy. Some of it is unnecessary, like becoming part of the, what do they call it, the shrine Akarites shield, to break your body on it. Like, there's no point to doing something like that if you want forgiveness for your sins or absolution for your sins. There's no need to do that. Just go on the battlefield and go fight until you die, and I'm sure your God will forgive you for your past actions. Yeah, so there are some things that some of these people are doing they're just illogical. Very, very illogical. Very, very illogical. So yeah, crazy people, grim dark society, and yeah, it looks like it's going to be a wild roller coaster ride with this universe, and definitely I can't wait to see more. I can't wait to hear more about it. And yeah, that is it for today with World War Armageddon Trench Crusade lore breakdown made on the Kateri YouTube channel. Hope I'm pronouncing that YouTube name correctly. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Thank you to Anthrax Crab 2222 for the request. This was very good. This was very nice in terms of Trench Crusade. And also thank you to Kateri for compiling the information, for making it informative and as understanding as possible with the current state of law and information centered around Trench Crusade. Thank you very much for the video. This was very, very informative. And yeah, guys, that's it. Remember, if you want to check out the original video as well as Kateri's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And I will see you guys in the next video, Trench Crusades, the Principality of New Antioch, Law and History, made on the Scanner Barkley YouTube channel. Yes, that's next. You'll find it, the card for it somewhere here. Okay, bye-bye.